Hallo Leute, willkommen zur Folge von Reddit. Heutige Folge werden wir auf dem nosleep Subreddit wieder besuchen hier. Und ups, ich hab gerade eigentlich schon die Facecam checken, aber das hat ja nicht so gut mehr. Weil es irgendwie scheint die tiefer als uns, aber irgendwie ist doch die Kamera nicht so schlecht, also die Facecam. Aber ja, auf jeden Fall den nosleep Subreddit haben wir schon einmal besucht, nämlich in der allerersten Folge von Reddit. Und ich habe ja auch vor ein paar Folgen, ich glaube vor 2 oder 3 Folgen so, habe ich ja erwähnt, dass ich den nosleep Subreddit ja in naher Zukunft wieder beginnen werde. Und da, hier ist er. Und ich würde mal sagen, also ich habe mir jetzt die ersten hier, die ich gesehen habe, mal die Titel angeschaut und ich würde sagen, wir schauen uns mal diese hier an, My Sugar, die Ask Me for Weird Favors und A Shadow Live. Und dann schaue ich noch weiter, wo die Zeit ist, der dritte rein. Oh, pressen. Und ich hab Sugar. His Tinder profile said he was 45. Ah ja, 10 für. Es ist viel Text. Also ja, macht das schon etwas vor. Das könnt ihr als Podcast machen, nur in schlechter Qualität. But he looked to be in his early 30s at most, looking for sugar baby. 700 weekly, no sex. It sounded too good to be true, but as a broker in university student, I was willing to take my chances. I swiped right and Tinder let me know it was a match. His just came seconds later. Hey there, sweetheart. Sweetheart, Jesus. I couldn't get that word, I hated it, but the $700 was $700, so I sucked up and replied, hey. His name was Jack, and he told me he owned his own business, although he never specified what kind of business. Business it was. He talked for a while before he asked me for my Venmo to send me the first payment. After a few minutes, I got the notification. I stared at the 700 for at least 20 minutes, expecting to wake up from a dream at any second, but it wasn't a dream. It's still there? I clicked the message. Yeah, sorry, if you don't mind me asking, what are you looking for in return? I stared at the chat until he replied, I'm just looking for you to do a few favors for me. That sounded like it was going to be sexual to me. Like what? For example, the first thing I need you to do is pick up a delivery for me. That sounded innocent enough, but I was still expecting there to be some kind of $700 to pick up a package. Come on, even I wasn't that naive. From the post office or something. No, I'll send you the address. But I'd rather not do this through Tinder. You got Kick, or you can give me a number. Kick, what was this? 2011. I decided to give him my number instead, and he texted me the address immediately, followed by the address to his house, where I would have dropped off the package. I'm not home right now, but there's a key on the bottom of the blue flower pot near the door. Go inside and put the package on the coffee table in the living room. Make sure that you lock the door when you go inside the house, and then lock it again when you leave. I grabbed my car keys and wallet and got into my car, putting the rest in Google Maps. Got it. On my way. My phone buzzed as I backed out of my driveway. I'm serious. Lock the door both times, please. I thought that was a little excessive, but I promised him that I would. The house looked abandoned. It had a broken chain and a link fence around it, with a small door that was hanging onto dear life. It stuck out like a sore thumb, surrounded by houses that were a lot nicer than this one in comparison. Here for the jack shit, I looked up to see a man standing in the open doorway of the house. He took up almost the entire space, his head steaming in the top of the doorframe. He was huge in height and muscle, and his entire torso was covered in tattoos. Yeah, I guess, I replied, not moving very from my spot on the sidewalk. Stay right there, he said. But, ich habe noch belegt. Och, du Heilige, ich sehe es jetzt. Okay, wir werden nur 2 Storys heute bekommen. Jesus! I actually don't think I would have moved if he asked me to. I looked around and realized that there was no one else on the street. I was a 21-year-old woman alone in the street. I grabbed my car keys. A few minutes later, the man came back carrying out a cardboard box. It was about the size of a shoebox, not stained and damp on some of the corners. Can you open your car? He asked. I opened the trunk, not wanting that inside of my car seats, and he said it in. Alright, there you go, he said. Thanks, I replied. I walked around to the driver's side of the car and opened the door. Oh, and one more thing, he said. I looked in. Watch out, he said. I didn't reply. I blasted my music as I drove to Jack's house, hoping it would drown out my anxiety. I did it. I parked my car in the stone driveway and stayed inside the car and my way in the house. Oh, It was a huge house with stone pillars on the front porch and the greenest grass I had ever seen in my life. I turned the car off and got out. I grabbed the package and walked to the front door, getting from where he said it would be. I, was it? I opened the door and stepped in, closing it behind me. I thought about what he said about locking the door and I get inside. Got inside. I thought it was a little overboard, but as I stared at the closed door, something made me reach out and lock it. I walked inside, my feet cushioned by the thick maroon carpet, and admired the inside of the house. All the furniture was wooden and looked incredibly expensive. I would probably finish school as a dozen times with the money that it took to furnish this place. I set the package down on the coffee table, and as I walked back to the door, I heard the phone. I heard a phone ringing from somewhere inside the house. I froze. When I popped my phone box, I took it out to look. Don't answer my calls. Don't answer any calls, Aaron from Marvin. I put my phone back and followed the sound of the phone, poking my head in a few different rooms before I found it in the office. I walked over the desk and looked at the call ID. Incoming call from Jack. That was odd. I grabbed my phone to look at the message again. I was starting to get a little bit creeped out and decided I wouldn't answer just to be safe and left the house, wearing to lock the door and I left. I've done it a few favors for Jack since then. I drove to a BMW to a random park, another city, only to get out and drive a different car back to Jack's house. He had me meet one of his employees at lunch, who then gave me a briefcase to deliver to the first house I had gone to and told me he would know if I looked inside. On several occasions, he asked me to drive down to that same house and stay with the guy whose name was Gilo for a certain amount of time. In total, I've made around $3,500. Jesus. Okay. Most recently, Jack asked me to stay in his house overnight. I woke up to a text message from him. I need you to spend the night at my house. I hadn't ever seen him in person, but I had talked to him on the phone a few times. He proceeded to tell me he would pay me $1,000 to spend the night at his house, provided I follow a few rules. I drove to his house that evening. The driveway was empty, and it normally was, but the porch light was on. I walked up and locked the door, went inside, and then locked it again. Everything in the house looked the same. Jack had told me over the phone that he would leave the list of rules on the dining room table. I set all my stuff down in the living room. The back looked like garbage compared to the fancy furniture in there. I wandered into the kitchen, then to the dining room. Sure enough, there was a piece of paper on the room table, held down by an empty glass. Look at the door when you come in. Only answer calls from Marvin. Don't turn on any faucets between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Don't open the door for anyone, no matter who they say they are, after 10 p.m. If the door to the closet at the end of the hall is open, sleep in the library. If closed, sleep in any of the bedrooms. The governor comes at midnight. If he starts knocking on the windows, hi. Turn the TV on and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. Help yourself to anything in the fridge. I'll pay you in the morning. Good night. Was zum Geier? Diese Regeln ist so, als würde er Maßnahmen nehmen, um irgendeinen Geist oder Psychopathen zu entkommen. Oder abzuwehren, besser gesagt. Ich bekomme aus irgendeinem Grund komische FNAF-Vibes. Frag mich nicht warum, ey. I made sure to follow all the rules. To be honest, I was regretting my decision, but seeing as I was already here and I was getting paid, I decided to stay anyway, as I figured as long as I followed all the rules, that would be perfectly fine. Still, it felt a little odd. What was this? A haunted house? Nevertheless, I lounged around the house for a few hours. I was planning on going to sleep around 9, since that's the time that all the weird shit would begin to happen. At 8:50, I brushed my teeth using the faucet for the last time before 9. I checked the closet in the hallway, and upon seeing that it was open, I moved my stuff into the library and got ready to sleep on the couch. I locked two doors just in case, and laid on the couch, scrolling through my phone. I hadn't gotten any more messages from Jack, and I started to think up the scenarios and reasons as to why he had such strict sets of rules in his house. I had dozen off at some point, because at exactly 10 60 p.m. I was woken up by the doorbell ringing. I was about to get up to check, but I remembered the rule. Don't open the door for anyone, no matter how old they say they are after 10 p.m. I stayed on the couch, trying not to move, paranoid that they would hear even the slightest sound. It's the police, open up. I didn't move. Hello? It's the police, open up, we're coming in. I still didn't move, but I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. There was a silence for a while after that. Then the doorbell rang again. Hey, it's Jack, let me in. It sounded like Jack, but still didn't get up. He would have the key, wouldn't he? Why would he need me to let him in? This continued for almost a full hour. Different people would ring the doorbell, none of themselves, then disappear when I didn't respond. I was finally able to fall asleep, and the garden dog never came. Uh, uh, When I woke up the next morning, I had heard someone in the kitchen. Also, wir sind gerade hier. Ich mache den Austrag einfach da immer, wo ich bin. In the kitchen. I got slowly up and unlocked the door as quietly as possible, taking my phone with me and walking across the living room and into the kitchen. I stopped at the entrance and peered in. It was Jack. He was standing in front of the stove, stirring something as the coffee machine brewed coffee on the counter behind him. Hey, good morning, he said when he saw me. Hi, I replied, nervous. I hadn't seen him in person before, but he looked exactly like his pictures online. Scrambled eggs? He asked, motioning into the pan with a wooden spoon. Yeah, thanks, I replied, walking over to take the plate for him. I ate my breakfast and drank some coffee in silence. So, how was it, he asked. It was okay, nothing super freaky happened, I replied. Cool, he replied. There was an awkwardness in the room. I'm gonna go now. I have class, I trailed off. I didn't, but I really wanted to get out of here. Oh no, yeah, sure, I'll talk to you some other time, he replied. I grabbed my stuff, and he walked me to my car. I could see him standing in the driveway, staring at me as I left. When I got home, I unpacked all my stuff and noticed that I still had the list with me. I sat on my bed and read it again. I felt my body tense up as I realized that I had forgotten something. Turn the TV on and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. Ja, noch einmal. Okay. I started to read the page until it lost meaning. Beside me, my phone buzzed, snapping me back to reality. It was the $1,000 payment. I looked at my phone and then back at the list. Maybe it wasn't important stuff. As I was thinking this over, a text from Jack came. Uh, it, I'm not in town right now. I should be back next week, so you're free from wanting any more errands for me until then. Just send the payment, go do something fun. I started my message and read it again and again, and once more for good measure. I'm not in town right now. I thought back to this morning, how Jack was in his house, how he gave me breakfast. I'm not in town right now. A few minutes, the next a new text came in this time from a number that I didn't recognize. Did you forget to do something? This text was followed by a picture of Jack or whatever this version of Jack was standing in front of the TV. I didn't respond. Next came another picture. This one was of the outside of my house. It was followed by another text. Watch out. Was zum... Ich hab keine Ahnung, Alter. Das ist wirklich gut geschrieben, muss ich sagen, Alter. Das ist wirklich gut geschrieben. Also das ist eine gute Story. Kein Wunder, dass das ganz oben ist. Weil die noch hochvoten, ey. Das ist super. Und dann A Shattered Life. Vor einem Jahr eingereicht, dieses. Oh, Brother. Ah, das wird ja wieder etwas. Okay. I don't know when you're going to read this, but I can tell you when it started. I was out for a walk alone in the woods when the entire entity came for me. It was beyond a blur. It was, for lack of a better term, absence of meaning. Where it hit, there were no trees. Where it crept closer, there was no grass. Through the arc, it leapt at me. There was no breeze of motion. There was no air at all. As struck, I felt a distinct sensation of claws puncturing keine Ahnung, somewhere unseen, somewhere I never felt before. My hands and arms and legs and torso seemed fine and wasn't bleeding, but I knew I have been injured somehow. As I fearfully went back home, I couldn't tell I was less. I was vaguely tired, and it was hard to focus at times. The solution at that early stage was easy. A big cup of coffee helped me feel normal again. For a while, that subtle drain of my spirit became lost in the ebb and flow of caffeine in my system. You could say my life began that week, actually, because that was when I met Ma. Wow. She and I got along great, though to be honest, I'm pretty sure I fell in love with her over the phone before we even met. It was almost as if the strong emotion of that first week made the entire entity fight back. Was für eine Intensität, also was für ein Ding, egal. It was still with me and latched onto some invisible part of my being. The first few incidents were minor and I hardly worried about them. The color of a neighbor's car changed from dark blue to black one morning and I stared at it before shaking my head and shrugging off the difference. 2 days later at work, a co-worker's name changed from Fred to Dan. I carefully asked around, but everyone said his name had always been Dan. I figured out I'd just been mistaken. Then as ridiculous as this sounded, I was peeing in my bathroom at home when I suddenly found myself on a random street. I was still in my pajamas, pants down and urinating, but now in full view of a dozen people at the bus stop. Horrified, I pulled my clothes and ran before someone called the cops. I did manage to get home, but the experience forced me to admit that I was still in danger. The entity was doing something to me and didn't understand how to fight back. Marshall of that evening, but she had her own key. Hey, I asked her with confusion. How did you get a key? She just laughed. You, are you sure you're okay with this? She opened the door and entered a room full of boxes. I know living together is a big step, especially when we've only been dating 3 months. Living together, I literally just met her the week before. The thing was, my mother had always called me a smart cookie for a reason. I knew when to shut my yap. Instead of calling my I told her everything was fine. Then I went straight to my room and began investigating. But things were just as I had left them, with no sign of a 3 month gap in habitation. But I did find something out of the ordinary. The date. I shivered angrily as I proceeded process the truth. The entity had eaten 3 months of my life. What the hell was I facing? What kind of creature would consume pieces of one's soul like that? I'd missed the most exciting part of new relationship. I would never understand any shared stories or in-jokes from that period. Something absurdly precious had been taken from me, and I was furious. Das ist wirklich eine interessante Story. That fairy hadn't suppressed the entity. I never okay. I never imbibed alcohol. Ich glaube, ich habe das falsch. Imbibed alcohol. I drank coffee regularly, religiously. I checked the date every time I woke up. For 3 years, I managed to live each day while observing nothing more than minor alterations. A social fact here and there, someone's job, how many kids they had, that sort of thing. The layout of nearby streets and the time my favorite television show aired. Kind of thing, always those changes remind me the creature still had its claws sunk into my spirit. Not once in 3 years did I ever let myself zone out. One day I grew careless. Let myself get really into the season finale of my favorite show. It was gripping, a fantastic story. Right at the height of the action, a young boy came up to my lounge and shook my arm. Surprised, I asked, "Who are you? How did you get in here?" He laughed and smiled brightly. "Silly daddy." My heart sank in my chest. I knew immediately what had happened. After a few masked questions, I discovered that he was 2 years old and that he was my son. That the agony in his heartache filling my chest was nearly unbearable. Not only had I missed the birth of my son, I would never see or know the first years of his life. Ma and I had obviously gotten married and started a family in the time it was, and I had no idea what joys or pains these years contained. It was snowing outside. Holding my son in my lap, I sat and watched the flakes fall outside. What kind of life was this going to be if slips in concentration could cost me years? I had to get help. The church had no idea what to do. The priest didn't believe me and told me I had a health issue rather than some sort of possession. The doctors didn't have any clue. Nothing showed up on all the scans and tests, but they happily took my money in return for nothing. uh, by the time I went by the time I went over options, I decided to tell Mom. There was no way to know what this all looked like from her side. What was I like when I wasn't there? Did I still take our son to school? Did I still do my job? Clearly I did, because she seemed to be none the wiser, but I still had a horrible feeling that something must have been missing in her life when I wasn't actually home inside my own head. But the night I set up a nice dinner in preparation, she arrived not by unlocking the front door, but by knocking on it. I answered and found that she was in a nice dress. She was happily surprised by the sightings on the table. A fancy dinner for second date. I knew you were sweet on me. Thank the Lord, I knew when to keep my mouth shut. If I'd gone on about being married and having a son, she might have run for the hills. Instead, I took her coat and sat down for a second date. Oh, ich mach kurz meine Pause beim. So, da bin ich wieder. So, wir sind hier stehen geblieben. Through a carefully crafted questions, I managed to deduce the truth. This was really our second date. She saw relief and happiness in me, but interpreted that as dating jitters. I was just excited to realize that the entity wasn't necessarily eating whole portions of my life. Symptoms as I was being transcended them were more like the consequences of a shattered soul. Creature had wounded me, broken me into pieces. Perhaps I was to live my life out of order, but at least I would actually get to live it. And so it went for viewers. From my perspective, while minor changes in politics or geography would happen daily, major shifts in my mental location only happened every couple of months. When I found myself in a new place and time in my life, I just shut up and listened, making sure to get the lay of the land before doing anything to avoid making mistakes. On the farthest long leap yet, I met my 6-year-old grandson. He asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up. He said writer. I told him that it was a fine idea. Then I was back in month 2 of my relationship. Then I was back in month 2 of my relationship with Ma, and I had the best night with her on the riverfront. When I say the best, I mean the best. Knowing how special she would become to me, I asked her to move in. I got to live through what I missed the first go around, and I came to understand that I was never mentally absent. I would always be there eventually. When you were moving her boxes in, she stopped and said she marveled at my great love, as I've known her for a lifetime and never once doubted she was the one. It was the first time I really truly laughed freely and horribly since the entity had wounded me. She was right about my love for her, but for exactly the reason she considered a silly romantic analogy. I had known her my whole life and had come to terms with my situation and found peace with it. It wasn't so bad to have sneak peeks at all the best parts I had. Well, of course, I wouldn't be writing this if it hadn't gotten worse. Entity, entity was still with me. It had not wounded me and departed like I wanted to believe. The closest I can describe my growing understanding was that the creature was burrowing deeper into my psyche, fracturing into smaller pieces. Instead of months between major shifts, we began having only weeks. Once I noticed that trend, I feared my ultimate fate would be to jump between times in my life heartbeat by heartbeat. Forever confused, forever lost. Only an instant in each time meant I would never be able to speak with anyone else before, and never be able to hold a conversation, never express or receive love. As the true depth of that fear came upon me, I sat an older version of me and watched out in the snow falling outside. It was the once constant in my life. Rather didn't care who I was or what pains I had to face. Nature was always there. The falling snow was always like a little hook that kept me in place. The pure emotional peace it brought was like a panacea on my mental wounds, and I never yet shifted while watching the pattern of falling white and thinking of the times I'd gone sledding or built snow fort as a child. I didn't touch my arm. Grandpa? He startled me out of my thoughts, so I was less careful than usual. Who are you? He half grinned as I'm not sure whether I was joking. Handing me a stack of papers, he said, "It's my first attempt at a novel. Would you read it and tell me what you think?" Ah, of course, pursuing that humor of being white, I see. He burnt bright reds, trying to anyway. Alright, one off, I'll read this right now. The words were blurry and annoyed. I looked for glasses I probably had for reading. Being older was terrible. I wanted to leap back into a young year, but not before I read this book. I found my glasses in the street pocket. I began leafing through. More put in and out of the living room. Still beautiful, but I had to focus. I didn't know how much time I would have there. It seemed that we had relatives over. Was it Christmas? A pair of elders and a couple of kids I didn't recognized through the hallway, and I saw my son, now adult, walk by with his wife on the way out of the door. As a group extended family began sleeping outside. Finally, I finished reading the story, and I called out for my grandson. He walked down the stairs into the living room. How was it? Well, it's terrible, I told him to read, but it's terrible for all the right reasons. You're still a young man, so your characters behave like young people, but the structure of the story itself is very solid. I paused. I'd expected it to turn out to be a horror story. No, it's a reflection of the times. Expression, expectations for the future as is not hopeful like they used to be. You're far too young to be aware like that, I told him. An idea occurred to me. If you're not into horror, do you know anything about stranger creatures? Sure, I read everything I can, I love it. Well, I scanned the entrance to the living room. Everyone was busy outside. For the first time, I opened up to someone in my life about what I was experiencing hunch tones, and I told him about my fragment and the consciousness. For teenager, I took it well. You serious? Yes. He donned the determined look of a grown man accepting request. I looked into it, see what I can find out. You should start writing down everything you experienced, build some data. Maybe you can map your psychic room. Wow, it's like a plan. I was surprised. That made sense, and I hadn't expected to have a serious response. But how will I get all the notes in one place? Let's come up with somewhere for you to leave them, he said, frowning with thought. Then I get them, and we can trace the path you're taking through your own life, if there's a pattern. For the first time since the situation at Godmother's, I felt terrible again. How about on the stairs? Nobody ever goes down there. Sure. He turned and left the living room. I peered after him. I heard him banging around near the stairs. Finally, he returned with a box. Die Story ist wirklich gut geschrieben, ne? Sehr. Finally, he turned with a box, laid it on the carpet, and opened it to reveal a rustling stack of papers. He exclaimed, "Holy crap!" But of course, being a teenager, uh, but of course, being a teenager, he didn't really say crap. Taken back, I blinked rapidly, forgiving his accusing because of the shock. Did I write those? He looked at me with wonder. Yeah, or you will. You still have to write them and put them on the stairs after this. He gazed back down at the papers, then covered the box. So you probably shouldn't see why they say that could get weird. That much I understand. Right? He gulped. There are like 50 boxes on there, all filled up like this. Deciphering these will take a very long time. His tone dropped to a deadly serious. But I will save you, Petra, because I don't think everyone else can. Tears flowed down my cheeks then, and I couldn't help but stop once or twice. I hadn't realized how lonely I'd become in my shifting prisons of awareness until I finally had someone who understood. Thank you so much. And then I was young again, and at work on a random Tuesday. Once the sadness and will faded, and anger and determination replaced them. After I finished my work, I grabbed some paper and began writing. While the weeks shifted around me, while those weeks became days and then hours, I wrote every single spare moment about when and where thought I was. I put it on the stairs of order. My first box was actually the 30th, and my last box was the first. Once I had over 50 boxes written from my perspective, and once my shifting became a matter of minutes, I knew it was up to my grandson to take it from there. I put my head down and stopped looking. I couldn't stand the river of changing awareness any longer. Names and places and dates and jobs and colors and people were all wrong and different. I've never been older, said watching Snowfall. A man of at least 30 that I vaguely recognized entered the room. Come on, come on, I finally figured it out. It was so thrilled that moving was painful. Are you him? Are you my grandson? Yes, he took me to a room filled with strange equipment and sat me in a rubber chair facing a large mirror twice the height of my man. Pattern finally revealed itself. How long have you worked at this? I guess asked it. I guess. Tell me you didn't miss your life like I'm missing mine. His expression was both stone cold and curiously resolved. It'll be worth it. He brought two thin metal rods close to my arm and then nodded at me. Look, this shock is carefully calibrated. His electric tap from his device was startling but not painful. The mirror saw the rapid light silhouette appear above my head and shoulder. The electricity moved through the creature like a wave, briefly revealing the terrible nature of what was happening to me. A proportion leech-like mouth was wrapped around the back of my head, coming down to my eyebrows and teeth, touching each ear. This frog-like body ran over my shoulder and into my very soul. It was a parasite, and it was feeding on my mind. Now, my now adult grandson held my hand as I took in the hall. After a moment, he asked, moving and going to hurt very badly. Are you up to this? Carefully, I asked, is Ma here? His face softened. No, not for 3 years now. I could tell from his reaction what had happened. I didn't want to be. How? We have this conversation a lot, he spotted. Are you sure you want to know? It never makes you feel better. Teams print my emails. Then I don't care if it hurts or if I like. I don't want to stay in a time where she's not alive. He made a sympathetic noise of understanding when returned to his machine. Look, several wires, diodes, and other bits of technology to my name's the forehead. While he did so, he talked. I worked for 2 decades to figure this out, and I have, I've had a ton of help from another researchers of course. This parasite doesn't technically exist in our plane. It's one of the lesser spawns of Usu, and it feeds on the plexus of mind, soul, and quantum consciousness reality. And details like names and colors of objects change. You weren't going crazy. The web of your existence was still using strands as the creature ate its way through you. I didn't fully understand. I looked up in confusion as he placed the circle of electronics like a corner of my head in the exact line with where the parasite's mouth had ringed me. What's the use? Pause is working grew pale. I forgot that you wouldn't know. You lucky, believe me. After a deep breath, he began moving in and placed his fingers near a few stitches. Ready? It is carefully to make the nervous fist extremely unappetizing parasite, but it's basically electroshock therapy. I could still see Smart's smile, even though she was dead. I've just been with her moments ago. Do it. The click of a switch echoed in my ears, and I almost laughed at how mellow the electricity was. It didn't feel like anything, at least at first. Then I saw the mirror shaking at my body with that image convulsing. Oh no, it did hurt. Nothing had been more painful. It was just so excruciating that my mind hadn't been able to really process. As my vision shook and fire burned in every nerve in my body, I could see the reflected trembling lights of the purse on my head as I withered in agony close to mine. It had claws, 6 clawed lizard-like limbs under its leech-like body and cut into me in an attempt to stay latched on. Electricity made my ears flare. Kann der Pfeffel am lesen? My smile was foremost. It lit brightly in front of a warm fire as the snow fell past the window behind her. Edges of that memory began lighting up, and I realized that my life was one conscious stretch of experience. It was only the awareness of it that had been fragmented by that feasting evil on my back. I never imagined to be there for the birth of my son. I jumped around it a dozen times, but never actually lived it. For the first time, I got to hold Ma's hand and be there for her. No, no. The moment had shifted seamlessly into holding her hand as she lay in a hospital bed for very different reasons. Not this God. Why? It was so merciless to make me remember this. I broke down in tears as nurses watched me through. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to experience. I'd seen all the good parts, but I hadn't wanted the best parts. The inevitable ended with all would one day face. It wasn't worth it. It was tainted. All that joy was giving back 10,000-fold as pain. The fire in my body and my brain surged to sheer white torture, and I screamed. My scream faded in a surprised shout as the machine's electricity and chaff faded away. Snow was no longer falling about my life. I was out in the woods on a bright summer day. Oh God. I turned to see the creature approaching me. It was the same absence of meaning, the same blank on reality. It crept forward just like before, but this time it hissed and turned away. I stood astounded at being young again and fled from the parasite. My grandson had actually done it. He made me an unappetizing meal, so the predator of mind and soul had moved on in search of a different snack. I returned home in the desk, and while I was sitting there processing all that had happened, my phone rang. Looked at it in even sadness. I knew who it was. It was Mario G. Calling for the first time for some trivial reason she had been 30 years later was made out just to talk to me. But all I could see was her lying in that hospital bed dying. It was going to end in unspeakable pain and loneliness. I would become an old man left to sit by myself in an empty room, a house. His soulmate gone along before him. At the end of it all, the only thing I would have left sitting and watching the falling snow. But now, thanks to my grandson, I would also have my memories. It would be a wild ride, no matter how it ended. On a sudden impulse, I picked up the phone and raised my ass. Hey, who's this? Even though I already know. Editor's note. Author's note. Together, my grandfather and I did set out to write the tale of his life. Unfortunately, his Alzheimer's disease progressed rapidly, and we were never able to finish. He's still alive, but imagine that mentally, he's in a better place than the nursing home. I like to think he's back in his younger days, living life and being happy, because the reality is not all much colder. It's snowing today. He loves the snow. When I visited him, he didn't recognize me, but he did smile as he said, looking out the window. Alter, das ist eine grandiose Story. Es wundert mich, dass die nicht Platz 1 hat. Ha. Das sind wirklich gut geschriebene Geschichten, ey, das muss ich sagen. Also, ja. Das war's dann mit dem zweiten Part von No Sleep. Und ja, danke fürs Zuschauen. Wir sehen uns beim nächsten Video. Tschö.